Headphone highlights. Hello, I'm Master Marslander, and this is my single-sided Modhouse Tungsten. Over here, we have a double-sided Modhouse Tungsten on loan to me from Ryan at Modhouse himself. What is the difference between the single-sided and the double-sided tungsten? Well, that is exactly what this video is going to be all about, so let's get into it. Now, we've already reviewed the single-sided tungsten in what was admittedly a very spirited review, but I encourage you to go and watch that video if you haven't already, and then come back to this video so that you have full context. Here they are, the tungsten single-sided, double-sided. As you can tell, lots of similarities here because the build here is pretty much identical. The same body, the same materials, the same comfort, same inputs, same build across the board. The only physical difference is the driver. The single-sided version is equipped with a single magnet array per driver. Much like the Odyssey Maxwell, as you can see there's only one array of magnets on one side of the diaphragm. The double-sided version is equipped with a dual magnet array per driver. Much like the Meze Imperium 2 here, as you can see there are two arrays of magnets, one on either side of the diaphragm. A dual magnet array offers some objective advantages, such as improved field strength, field angle, and even more even field distribution. You can think of it like a single-ended amp versus a balanced amp. An expected question would be, why is there an option? Why are there two different versions of this headphone? Why not stick with one kind of driver over the other? There is a bit of a story behind what led to having both offerings, but in a nutshell, the tungsten was originally designed and offered as a single-sided driver, but through some trial and error, the double-sided version came to life during the release and production of the single-sided. But rather than release the single-sided version first, and then follow up with the double-sided version shortly after, which I'm sure you could guess would probably make some people upset, both versions were offered at the official launch, giving buyers a choice and some different price brackets. So what exactly is the difference here? First, we're going to use Ryan's own description here, where he says, subjectively, I describe the single-sided as a mid V-shaped tuning and the double-sided as truly neutral. I agree with this comparison, but I'm going to expand on it. First, let me say that thinking that the double-sided version is just simply the better version, I don't think is the correct mindset to have when comparing these. While the double-sided version may have some objective advantages over the single-sided version, this is much less a discussion of which headphone is better and more a discussion of how are these headphones different. The single-sided and double-sided tungstens are different in a very similar fashion in the way that the HiFiMan HE560 and the HiFiMan HE6SE are different. The HE560 offers a more intense, focused, and energetic experience, while the HE6SE offers a more natural, realistic, and immersive experience. Mirroring the HiFiMans, the single-sided tungsten offers a more intense, focused, and energetic experience, while the double-sided tungsten gives you a more spacious, realistic, and neutral experience. While the single-sided was already an extremely unbelievably immersive experience already, the double-sided expands on that. The double-sided has a wider sense of staging and somehow an even more holographic kind of imaging that is precise and just unparalleled in separation quality. Sitting with the double-sided tungsten is like being in a huge amphitheater. You're alone, there's no one else there, there's no other sound or anything else to be distracting, and there's no need for use of the loudspeakers, so you are able to just sit there and absorb the natural acoustics of the theater while the performance plays out in front of you. It is an absolutely immersive experience and just incredibly realistic in presentation. The double-sided tungsten is genuinely an extremely neutral, extremely natural headphone. It leans slightly to the warmer side of neutral, but it is still very, very, very precise. The low end is extremely clean, extremely honest, and man, it hits hard and true with wonderful, wonderful sub-bass extension. It's never muddy, it's never blooming, and it's stays in its range while being just this incredibly textured, incredibly realistic, and incredibly resolving bass range. Going from the bass range into the mid-range, vocals are phenomenal. They're probably one of the most realistic vocals I have ever heard. Male or female, it doesn't matter. You're getting clean, clear precision, really genuinely feel like they're right in front of you, and it's such an incredibly immersive experience. The rest of the mid-range is also still extremely well defined, and the imaging separation was already phenomenal. Phenomenal on the single-sided. Somehow the double-sided tungsten here takes imaging to an even further level, an even further degree of separation and precision. Once again, just like I said in my review for the single-sided tungsten, I have never heard imaging like this before. It is almost uncanny of how precise it is, how separating it is, how just hugely immersive it is. Going into the treble range, you have plenty of sparkle, plenty of texture, but nothing ever gets sibilant, nothing ever gets hot. It's very, very well controlled while being extremely resolving, even more resolving than the single-sided tungsten, which frankly I find hard to believe. The big word for these is holographic. These are probably the most holographic and the most realistic headphone I have ever heard. And taking everything that it does so well and combining it together is what leads to this insanely immersive, insanely realistic listening experience. And understand, this isn't super clinical. We're not talking about something that's very, very sterile and very, very clinical here. This is still extremely fun, wildly fun, just truthful and honest, and it's just insanely realistic. There's really no other way to go about it. The double-sided version did exactly what the single-sided version did to me when I first had it, where I went through all my different playlists all over again, and again had this kind of feeling that I was listening to them almost for the first time. Just hearing things I've never heard before and songs that I've been listening to for decades, you know, that I know by heart. It brings out so much extra minutia, extra layers that I just never noticed before. And it does so while being an exceptionally musical headphone. Musical, not just well performing. Yeah, of course it's extremely well performing. It just has this real, genuine musicality to it. It's truly a phenomenally audiophilic listening experience. Sitting with the single-sided tungsten is like being in a dive bar rock concert. There's high energy all around you, and the music is kicking so hard you feel it right in your chest. Again, there's no buzzing loudspeakers around you. The band is just projecting with power and precision, and you can hear every little minutia. Now, from my description, you might think that the single-sided is almost like the antithesis of the dual-sided, but that's really not the case. Understand this. The single-sided is still, on its own, an incredibly immersive sounding headphone. It is huge. The soundstage is massive, just not as separating, not as wide as it is on the double-sided. The overall sound signature between the two is very, very similar. It's just that the single-sided has just that little bit more intensity and focus, especially on hard-hitting attacks and transients. Extremely resolving, just not quite as resolving as the double-sided. But also, that's not maybe the case every single time. Because of the extra amount of intensity you get out of the single-sided and maybe sparkly texture you get in particularly the high mids and the high end on the single-sided, some things may even actually sound slightly more resolving, but again, that's kind of situational. Single-sided, I would say, does have a bit more presence in the bass range. It leans a little bit warmer. You get a little bit more thud and crack in the chest, but still understand that the bass range is still exceptionally well resolving. It is super clean. It is extremely fun, and with just a huge amount of bass extension going well beyond sub bass, while also being sure never to really bleed or bloom or go anywhere it's not supposed to go. Very well controlled low end, but damn is it fun. And mid-range is still phenomenal. We've done the review of these already before. You know how wonderful they are. The mid-range is still just incredible. It's still one of the most detailed, well-defined, and well-represented mid-range I've ever heard. It's an incredibly natural timbre all across the board. And vocals, while maybe not quite as realistic as they are on the double-sided, they're more intimate, going back to intimacy, but still extremely clear, extremely vibrant, and very natural, if maybe leaning a little bit towards a warmer signature. And the treble range, again, because of the kind of added intensity and the, I would say, more focused, hard-hitting attacks you get out of the single-sided here, the treble range just feels sharper, not in a sibilant sense, not in a fatiguing sense. It just feels like it has a bit more of like a pinpoint to it that adds this kind of feeling of resolution and detail coming from that higher end. Imaging and separation, as I said in my review for the single-sided here, is what was a game changer for me and made me hear music in a way that I just haven't ever heard it before. So that just has to be respected here, that the imaging and separation on this is really kind of uncanny. And it's just a wonder that, you know, the double-sided can even expand on it. So the single-sided equals precision, resolution, energy, staging, and just an absolutely bombastic time. And the double-sided tungsten offers you more immersion, precise imaging, even wider staging, holographic realism, and near perfect balance. It is a truly musical experience. Both versions are phenomenal headphones that far exceed their price to performance. They are both true to form Modhouse Audio Tungstens, and while they may look kind of like identical twins, they have their own personalities and style. Which of the two do I like more? Well, let me put it this way. The single-sided tungstens absolutely blew my mind, and they still blow my mind today. An absolutely stunning headphone that's unlike anything I've heard. And the double-sided here, again, are a loaner unit. I'm going to have to send these back to their rightful home eventually, but you better believe that after having my time with them, I have an order in place for my own set. So I will have both versions because I love them for what they can individually do. Which version is going to be right for you? Well, hopefully this video helped you kind of find the right match. In any case, they are phenomenal headphones and you really can't go wrong. Just pick a flavor. That's about it. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you again soon.